Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. It's Johnny TCG, and I'm coming at you with some purple Luffy spice today. Okay, I guess purple Luffy's not really considered spice, but I'm excited to bring him to you today. In OP09, purple Luffy gets some really good support, and he becomes much more meta viable than he already is in OP 8.5. I think a lot of people are going to be playing this deck. I think it's going to be a hard deck to beat depending on the matchup, and I think now is the perfect time to take a look at it and get to know it. We're going to take a look at the deck list, then we're going to do a giveaway. We've always got a custom card giveaway, and then we've got some games on the sim. The games on the sim today are really interesting. We've got some good matchups. Blackbeard from OP09, PRB Sanji, a Doflamingo. These are the matchups you're going to see in the new meta, so you better get used to them. For those that don't know, Purple Luffy's leader ability is you may take the top card of your life and add it to your hand. Then, if the amount of Don on your field is 0 or 3, you're able to ramp a Don as active from your Don deck. The way this is mostly used is playing 4 costs when you're at 3 Don, and then 5 costs when you're at 4 Don. This is allowing you to get ahead of your opponent. They won't be able to catch up, ideally, because you're playing bodies that are bigger than them. And with some of the recent support, you're also going to be able to go wide with Luffy Taro from the new starter deck, which just adds even more pressure to your opponent. First up, we have 3 Mr. 2 Bonclays. I don't think this is necessarily the best card to play on turn 2. I think Zoro Joro might be better in most cases, but it's still a great card. I actually only put 3 just because I think 3 is a decent number for it, just because we don't need to see it every game. Let me know if you have a different opinion in the comments below, but I think just 3 is a decent number. These are very expensive right now though, so hopefully you've already picked these up. I'm running 2 Eustace Captain Kids. This 5 cost 6,000 blocker is really a great card. I just don't know when to always play it. It is a good play when you're at 5 Don. If you went second, it's a great play there if it can stay on board. Depending on the matchup, it might get removed pretty easily, like with Rob Lucci, but for the most part, it's a good card. I don't think I need much more than it because we've got some other blockers we like to use like Onami and Starter Deck 10 Law, but 2 doesn't feel bad either. We're running 4 Hitokiri Kamazos. This card is great. 4 cost 5,000 power, 2k counter. We don't play it out a ton, but when we do, it hopefully gets a lot of value. Its ability is when a Don is returned to your Don deck, you may KO one of your opponent's 2 cost or less characters. This is going to be great to deal with chump blockers, a Rosinante if you're playing Bonnie, a Nico Robin if your opponent's playing Purple Luffy and runs the Nico Robin 2 cost blocker. We're running 2 Sanji, 2k counter, 6 cost 6,000 power blockers. This Sanji's really good, especially when you're low in Don and can cheat it out for 3. Maybe bumping it up makes sense. It's searchable off Law and Zoro Joro, which is very nice. But if you're not playing it with its ability, 6 can be steep sometimes. 3 Linlin. I think some decks are off Linlin in OP09, but at the moment, it still feels good in my testing. This card is really just amazing, temporarily getting rid of a threat, and then also healing yourself. For Purple Luffy, that's huge because you're going to be taking your own life, and sometimes often. And so if you take your life too quickly, you might be in a situation where you're like, oh crap, you know? And so this is where Linlin comes in, lets you heal a life, lets you relax a little bit, take yourself out of lethal range. It's great. 3 of the new Sanji, 7 cost 7,000 power, on play Don -1 or more, so hypothetically you could return more than 1. That's for the purple black Luffy leaders effect. Rest one of your opponent's 6 cost or less characters, and then this card gets rush, so great going for late game, great to put pressure on black yellow Luffy or any other character that has a blocker on board. We're running 4 of the new Trafalgar Law Searchers. This really makes Purple Luffy feel a lot better. When decks don't have a turn 1 searcher, it can often feel bad, and this is exactly what Purple Luffy needed. Definitely take note of the restrictions though. You can only look at the top 4, and then you have to take something cost 2 or more. I assume the reason for that is they don't want you looking for other searchers, but also so that you can't search up the Gum Gum Giant event card, which is so good. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but this event really makes Purple Luffy and even Red Purple Luffy really strong. It also can search Straw Hats and Heart Pirates, so you could hypothetically take the starter deck 10 Law off of it. 2 Nico Robin chump blockers, low cost, low power blockers seem to gain some popularity in OP09, and so we're going to jump on the bandwagon and throw 2 in here. We're only running 2 9-cost Monkey D. Luffys. Maybe this should be bumped up to 3. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. This is the new secret rare from OP09. 9 cost, 10,000 power. Return 1 or more Don to your Don deck. Then you get Rush and you get to draw a card. It's a great finisher, what can I say? We are running 2 starter deck 10 laws. This law card is great. I think 2 is a great number for it. It catches your opponent slipping sometimes if they're developing a big hand, and you can throw this down. His ability is Don -2. His ability is Don -1. Trash 2 cards from your opponent's hand if they have 7 cards or more. So if they're really developing a big hand, you throw this down for 4 Don, minus a Don, and then catch them slipping. You'll see how this played in my Blackbeard game, and it went crazy. For Usohachi, this card's great. Not only is it a 2K, its ability of being able to rest one of your opponent's cost 5 or less characters will really come in clutch when you're going for lethal and they've got a blocker up. That's only if you have 8 or more Don though, so be careful. We're running 3 Onamis from starter deck 18. This new blocker is 4 cost 2,000 power with 1,000 counter, and what's really good about her is she allows you to cycle your cards if you have 8 or more Don on the field. The catch is that you have to trash a card first, so sometimes it can be a little bit awkward because you're not sure what card to trash, and frankly, your hand is kind of decent, so you don't want to get rid of anything. But getting the card cycle, getting 2 more cards is usually worth it. We are running 4 Sangoros. Depending on the matchup, this card won't be great because it can be removed relatively easily, but it's a great target for your Luffy Taro play where you're able to cheat it out. His when attacking ability is great, so if you can keep him on the board, you're going to get crazy value as well. For Zoro Joro, this card's a beast. Dropping it on 4, you have a 6,000 power body, and then he also lets you search for another purple Straw Hat card. This helps you find a Luffy Taro or find a piece for your Luffy Taro that you'll likely play next turn. And of course, in other situations when you need a 2K or a blocker, throw him down and pray. For Luffy Taro, love this card. 7 Don, throw it down. Playing out another Straw Hat card with a cost of 5 or less. This could either be Sangoro, Zoro Joro, even Onami's a good target sometimes. Honestly, we could consider putting Jinbei, the 5 cost 6,000 power blocker from OP09 in this deck, simply because it's another target for Luffy Taro to cheat out. And the final card in our list is Gum Gum Giant. This new event is busted. I'm telling you, it can make going for game against purple decks really hard. It's a 1 cost counter event. It requires you to -2 Don back to your Don deck and then trash 1 card from your hand, which seems steep, but hear me out. It then allows you to draw 2 cards and give one of your characters or leaders plus 4,000 power. Not only is it going to save you from a potential attack, it's going to help you gain cards, gain back resources that you've probably lost because you're not using this till the end of the game. When you are using this, the Don -2 isn't usually a big deal because you'll probably be at 10 Don anyway, and so next turn you'll just be right back at 10. If you're not running this at 4, I might call you crazy, but hey, what do I know? In the beginning of the video, I get this confused with Gum Gum Giant Gavel, and so I think I call it Gum Gum Giant Gavel sometimes. I feel like a fool. I'm embarrassed. F in the chat. Don't roast me in the comments down below, or roast me in the comments down below. I deserve it. Before we get into the gameplay, of course we have a giveaway today. Today we're actually going to be giving away a custom OP09 Shanks leader card. I'll throw it up on screen. Boom. It's holographic. It's using art from the One Piece Treasure Cruise game. I am not the artist. I'm not selling it. It's just a fun hobby. All you have to do to win this card is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. If this video gets 20 likes in the first 24 hours, I will send it to 1 US-based commenter completely free. All you gotta do is 1, leave a like, 2, leave a comment, and if you're feeling crazy, like really crazy, hit the subscribe button as well. It means a ton. We're on the road to 1,000, and hopefully we'll get there. That's enough of me yapping. Editor, roll the gameplay. Our first game of the day is against a Blackbeard. This new mono black leader is going to make a splash in the West. I can already tell you that. It has gained a lot of popularity recently in Japan, and I think it's going to be huge in America. We are on the odd curve. We're going to go first and play out the Law Searcher and get the Sanji 2K blocker. Not too bad of a find. This is actually going to be a really tough matchup for me just because so many of my cards rely on on-play effects. I did not think of it right away when I entered the game, but when you think about it, almost all of my good cards require on-play effects. It's going to be really difficult for me to get maximum value out of my plays. For example, Luffy Taro, if they use their effect when I play down Luffy Taro, I can't play out another body. If they use their effect when I play it before I play out Sanji, I can't get Rush, etc., etc. We are going to go with the Trafalgar Law 4-drop blocker, making them trash 2 cards from their hand, and one of those is a Blackbeard 10 cost. I couldn't believe that. I don't love playing down the 4-cost blocker early because it does make me go down and don, but I knew that if they had that 10-drop Blackbeard and I was able to get it, it is just so crushing for them because that 10-drop is so good in their deck that I had to take the chance that I could get rid of it. We are going to take the first hit, and now they do use their leader ability, so I cannot get an on-play effect this turn. That is pretty tough. The Zoro would be a nice play, but I can't get any value out of it, so I think I might just play out the Zoro as a normal vanilla body, which feels so bad to say, but we're going to swing 6,000 at them. They're going to take that, and then we're actually going to go with the Hitokiri Kamazo. This will help us get rid of some of their smaller bodies, like Doc Q, if we can keep it on the board. Alas, we cannot keep it on the board, but it would have been good, I guarantee it. So that's sad to see him go. They would have been able to get rid of the Zoro Joro anyway, so whatever I played that turn, they had the combo to get rid of it. They're going to use their leader ability again. First I'm going to take their swing, going down to 2 life, which is a little bit risky, but I am not afraid. We're going to swing into their Doc Q with Law, and they'll give it to us. And now I think we just want to swing really big with Leader into Laboon. We really want that Laboon to get off the board just because it'll give them so much value if it can stay alive. I swung big into it. Now I'm throwing down the Nico Robin, just a chump blocker. I'm sorry, I shouldn't call Nico Robin a chump, but 2 cost, 2,000 power. It's easily removed, but at least it'll require resources from my opponent if they do want to get rid of it. They're going to play down the Jesus Burgess. Great card. It already has an extra 2,000 in power. And then they're going to play down Doc Q, using an Ice Age to get rid of the Nico Robin. Then using leader ability and swing 5,000 into the Law. I'm going to give them that. I'm happy they swung into the Law. And now we're in a really weird spot. They only have 1 card in hand. We got a ton, but we can't do any on-play abilities this turn, which really stinks. I'm not sure if I should go with a big body this turn or maybe 2 smaller bodies. I think that Law and then Zoro Joro is the best play here, but not being able to use Zoro Joro's on-play ability just hurts so bad. We'll pass with 1 Don up, maybe faking like we have the Gum, I think it's Giant Gavel, the new 1-cost event. They're going to use Finger Pistol to get rid of my Law. That feels bad. Then they're going to play out the Lafitte and get the 10-drop Marshall D. Teach. That 10-drop Blackbeard is probably going to come out next turn. That does not feel good. They're going to use their leader ability, trashing Laboon, so I have another turn of no on-play effects. Luckily, I do top for my life. I get the Gum Giant Gavel. This came at the perfect time and will help keep me alive for another turn. During my turn, they are going to use their leader ability again, preventing more on-play abilities. I'm thinking this turn, I need to get rid of that Jesus Burgess and then maybe set up a blocker. I'm going to go 9,000 into the Burgess, which we know will hit because they don't have any counter in their hand. Then I play out the Law. I had a couple different options here. I could have played down the 6-drop Sanji. That was such a play mistake. I completely forgot about his leader ability being online, and therefore I couldn't do the Law search. I got a little bit too cutesy there. I should have just played down a 6-cost Sanji blocker so that I'd be able to block their leader swing. It doesn't really matter too much because I can just give them 1k of counter. I don't even have 1k really. I give them the 2k. I could have gave them a 7-cost Sanji, but if they don't use leader ability for a turn, that Sanji will be really helpful. I decide I'm just going to slowly chip away at life. We'll start with a 5,000 swing from Law. They'll either block or take. That's their only option, and they'll let it go through, which is very nice. And then I'm just going to play out the 6-cost Sanji blocker. Now I am set up pretty good right now, actually. They can swing at me. I can block with Sanji. I've got plenty of counter in my hand. I think I'll be all right. I left one Don up for Gum Gum Giant Gavel. They're going to use the Tempest Kick to lower the cost of my Sanji. Draw a card. I think they were just looking for answers of how to possibly get rid of the Sanji. They're going to swing 13 at me with their leader. I don't know if it really makes a difference if I take or if I block with Sanji. I'm just going to take this because I'm actually able to counter out if they swing with their 10-drop Blackbeard. But if they do swing with their 10-drop Blackbeard, they would be in trouble and I would have an easier time going for lethal. They don't end up swinging with their Blackbeard. That is perfectly fine with me. I'm actually in a pretty decent position, I'd say. They're running out of resources and I've got plenty of counter and blockers. We're going to start out with the 6,000 swing from Zoro. They are going to take that. Now I'm going to do 6,000 with my leader, I think. They might block this. If they block it, that's perfectly fine. The question is, do I swing then with Sanji? They don't block that, which I find interesting. Now I'm just going to block her up, leave one Don open for Gum Gum Giant Gavel, and I'm in a great position. Even if they drop the 10 cost Blackbeard, I like where we're at. They just concede. They didn't have another 10 drop. A close game, but they just ran out of resources, which kind of happens with Blackbeard. You need to have a couple other characters established besides just the 10 drops at the end, because you don't really want to turn your 10 drops sideways to swing if you don't have other blockers or a decent amount of cards in hand. They are actually going to take that one, and if there's no trigger, moment of truth, drum roll please. Editor, you better put in a drum roll effect. They do. They use the radical beam trigger. That was a risky play by them to take that life, not knowing if it was a trigger or not. Now I'm in a little bit of a weird position. I'm going to use leader ability so that I can play out Sanji to rest the Bon Clay and then swing into the Bon Clay with my leader, and then I'll swing into their leader with my Sanji. I still made the most of that play, and honestly that might even have been a better play than dropping the blocker Law to trash 2 cards from their hand. Let me know what you think. I think we were still able to make the most out of that turn. They're going to be at 7 Don as well, and are going to play their own Sanji. They are probably going to try to clear my board, I'd say, or maybe they're just going to apply a ton of pressure into my life. I would prefer they swing into my board because that would make countering easier. I don't have any 2Ks, which will be obvious if I counter out with 2 1Ks. They're going to start with a 6,000 swing into my life. I think that I just have to counter out of this with maybe a Law Searcher and then a Law Blocker. It does feel really bad though, just because it does show that I don't have any 2Ks. We will take the 7,000 swing from their Sanji, which is a little bit questionable. I must admit it. It's a little bit questionable. But we do have a ton of blockers in hand. We will be able to put our defenses up a little bit. We're going to do a swing with our Zoro first into their leader. They will give us the 2K, so we're on the opposite ends. They don't have any 1Ks. We don't have any 2Ks. I'd rather be in their position. Now we'll go 7,000 with our Sanji into their leader. They are going to have a 2K Franosuke for me there. Now I'm in a little bit of an awkward spot. I could drop 2 4-cost blockers, an Onami and a Trafalgar Law. I'm going to start out with the Onami. I'm trashing the Sanji, which in hindsight maybe wasn't the best card to trash, just because it has Rush and could rest one of their 6-cost or less characters. I then decide I'm going to swing 7,000 into their Sanji, because I do have the 2K Nico Robin to play, so I will be able to establish another blocker. I think that maybe the 7,000 would have been better served into life. Let me know what you think. If they don't have any counter, that's great, and being able to clear their board is huge, which it does get through. That's very good, but at the same time, it was a little bit risky of me. If they were able to counter out of that, I would have been in a tough spot. They are at 8 Don, ramping to 9, so they can't play Gear 5 Luffy. That's at least a relief. They could have another rush card, but with my 2 blockers, I don't think that I'm in danger of lethal this turn. I don't have a ton of counter in hand, but I got some. They will drop another 7-cost Sanji. This will be able to rest my Onami blocker, which is not a great feeling. They're going to swing 7,000 with leader into my life. I think that at this point, blocking with Nico Robin makes more sense. Or just countering out. It might not make much of a difference. I'll just counter out, giving them a Trafalgar Law and an Uso Hachi. Then they'll swing with their Sanji into my Zoro. And I think that in hindsight, blocking with Nico Robin here is the right play, because this Zoro is going to be a valuable swing onto their life. I am at 10 Don. I could either gain a life by playing the 9-drop Charlotte Linlin, or I can put a ton of pressure on and play the 9-drop Monkey D. Luffy Secret Rare from OP09. I'm leaning towards the Monkey D. Luffy, I think. Now the question is, do I try to clear their board and swing into their Sanji? I'll start out with a 6,000 swing from Zoro into their leader. I imagine they will counter out if they could. They cannot. That's a good sign. Then I have to decide whether or not I want to swing into their life or their Sanji. I might start out with I might play defensively this turn, actually, which is very interesting. I'm expecting maybe they have a Gum Giant Gavel, and so that my 9-cost Luffy wouldn't really be able to get a successful swing off. It's very interesting, though, that I played the Onami. I do find a Gum Giant Gavel of my own, which is huge. Now we'll swing 7,000 with Sanji into their leader. In hindsight, I really wonder how I feel about this play, just because I could have applied more pressure, established a bigger body, but I don't hate the idea of establishing another blocker and then just taking little swipes at their life. I will have 5 Dons still up. I will probably play the Law blocker, or I could go Zoro, a nice 6,000 power body and also a search. I end up going with the Law blocker. I think that might be overly cautious. Another reason it's overly cautious is this situation right here. The Gold D Roger. I did not expect this play at all. I'm still kind of new to OP09. I'm not exactly sure what the exact sequencing and ruling is around that card. And so all I know is that I just can't activate a blocker this turn. But that's actually okay. I have enough counter to get out of all of their hits, and then I let the Goldie Roger hit go through, not activate a blocker, and I just win. So this first hit, I'll give them a 2K counter and a 1K counter. Then they're going to swing with their Goldie Roger. I'm not sure if that is the correct sequencing, but I don't think it really mattered regardless. I was going to be able to get out of their swings no matter what. We'll use the event Doesn't really matter what we trash. I think this kind of secures us the game. Yeah, they just concede. We would have had a couple swings into their life. We would have just kind of went all in and swung big. GG's. That was a close one. Now we've got a matchup against Sanji from PRB1. This new red leader is really interesting. It gives everything without an on-play effect that's 7 cost or less rush, which can really apply some pressure. I think this is going to be a hard matchup just because Purple Luffy doesn't really like pressure, and so if they're able to swing at my life heavy and prevent me from using my leader ability, then I'm going to be in for a long day because then I can't execute my game plan. I'm on the even curve. I'm going to play out the Law Searcher first, and I am able to draw the starter deck at 10 blocker Law. That could be good if I can get them to accumulate a lot of cards in hand. They're going to start out with the Monkey D. Luffy from OP09 swing. Very interesting. Crazy that they have a 2-cost rusher in this deck. That's the perk of the leader ability. Then they're going to go 6,000 at me, and I will take that. I have to get this Luffy off the board. I'm going to swing 5,000 at it, which feels a little bit risky. I could really see them countering out of this, and then I'd be in a little bit of an awkward space because the next turn I could be dealing with 3 swings at my life, and that is not the place I want to be. I'm thinking if they don't counter out of this and let it go, that I play down as Zoro Joro, but I could also ramp using leader ability and play out the Sangoro. The Sangoro would provide a lot of value once I get to 8 Dawn and can start drawing cards for free. But I'm going to use the Zoro Joro now because the Sangoro would not be active next turn because I'd only be at 7. I don't know if I'm going to ramp, or even when I do ramp, I'd only be at 7. We didn't use leader ability there just because I want to keep my life a little bit. I know they're going to apply a lot of pressure, and I'm just trying to avoid getting caught off guard. I'm not exactly sure what cards this Sanji deck runs. There's a lot of different lists floating out there, and we're still new to OP09, so I'm not totally comfortable against this deck, so we're kind of playing a little bit more conservatively. They're going to swing 6,000 at us. I'll give them a 2K, and then I knew something like this would happen, so I'll just take that one. We do get the Gum Gum Giant Gavel, which is an amazing event from OP09. We are going to be at 6 Dawn. I'm debating on whether or not I want to... Oh, it actually doesn't matter if I ramp or not because I don't have a Luffy Taro. That's kind of an L. F in the chat. I really just want to remove that rested Zoro this turn, so I think I'm just going to swing big into it. We'll start with 8,000 with our Zoro Joro into it. I really hope they let it go. This seems to be the game plan against PRB Sanji, is to just clear their board basically every turn because they're going to be turning their characters sideways every turn. They are going to give me that. That is good news. I think I might just swing 5,000 with leader and then do a Zoro Joro search again. And that's what we'll do. They'll take that hit, which is good news. And then off the Zoro Joro, a Luffy Taro does seem nice, but I'm going to be a little bit more conservative and play Usohachi. I really don't know how right that is. Let me know if you agree with that pick in the comments down below. I think it's fine. I don't really want to go too low in counter. I don't have any 2Ks right now, which if they swing 1,000 more at me and I wanted to counter out of it, I'd have to give them 2 1Ks, and that kind of gives away in my hand that I don't have any 2Ks. They're going to be at 7 Dawn now. We could see a big body. I know the 7-cost Banish Luffy is an interesting pick in this deck. They're going to go with the Wapple. This card is very popular in PRB Sanji. It allows you to give one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000, then it gives Wapple plus 2,000 until the start of your next turn. That card is really hard to remove because it is an 8,000 body on your own turn. 9,000 at Zoro Joro, of course I'm going to give it to him. I'm not going to counter out and use half my hand for that. I will counter out of the 5,000 swing into life. I think that is the right play here. I'm going to start my turn by swinging 6,000 into their leader. If they take this, I could actually hit him with the starter deck 10 Law Blocker. I really like that idea, but they will give me the 2K. They don't fall for it. I will have to get this Wapple off the board. I'm debating on whether or not I want to use my leader ability to ramp and play down the Monkey D. Luffy to swing into it. Now, I don't think that's the wisest play in the world. blockering up might not be a bad idea, but I would really sleep better at night if I was able to get that Wapol off the board. 5,000 at their leader. With my leader, I expect them to counter out of this. They don't, which I would have preferred if they did. And I'm going to use leader ability to play out the 9-drop Monkey D. Luffy. Here I'm going to swing into the Wapol, but like realistically, I think swinging into their leader would have been better. It would have applied better pressure, and it would have required a lot more cards for them to counter out. Still, it requires them at least 2 cards for them to get out of this hit if they do want to counter out. But with 6 cards in hand, it is very believable that they would be able to counter out. So I think that swinging into life would have been better there. Apply a little bit more pressure. I don't need to play so conservatively, which I definitely tend to do sometimes, and definitely to my detriment. I should just go harder into life, apply pressure, especially when I'm swinging with big bodies. They're going to play down Chaka, a 5 cost, that when you give him 1 Don, he allows you to move 2 rested Don to one of your leaders or characters. He's going to move 2 Don to Wapol, swing 10,000 into my secret rare Luffy, bringing the Luffy down to 8,000. Now I will be able to counter out of this, and then I will be able to counter out of the 8,000 swing from Sanji if he swings into Luffy. Maybe even if he swings into Zoro, I'd even consider countering out, but probably not. We don't have any amazing plays next turn. Now they're going to go 7 into the Zoro. This feels a little bit like a trap because they're wanting me to use my counter and they're just going to swing into the Luffy. And I feel like that's exactly what it was. So I'm not going to save the Zoro even if I could, or even if I wanted. You know what I mean. I'm not going to save it even though I could have. Editor, cut that out. They're going to swing 8,000 into my Luffy, and here's another example where maybe just swinging into life would have been better. They would have put me down to 1 life, and that would have made me scared. We've got 10 down to work with. I like where we're at. We do have a couple of blockers we can play out. I'm thinking maybe we do a Law Search and then do Onami and then starter deck 10 Law, or maybe we do Onami. With the Trafalgar Law Searcher, we are going to take the Sanji. It's actually the only one we're able to take. You can't take that Gum Giant Gavel event, which is unfortunate. Now I'm thinking about how I want to clear their board. Do I want to swing into their Chaka? And do I want to swing with leader? I'm going to start out with a 6,000, but I expect them to counter out of this. I won't be able to remove both their characters most likely, but I certainly would love to clear their board completely. They'll give me the Chaka, and I feel like they're doing what I did last turn where they give you the smaller character to save their counter for the swing to the bigger character. So I'm going to swing 10,000 in a Wapol. Again, maybe just going into life would have been better. They do have the 0 cost 3,000 power event again, so that Wapol stays another turn. I do consider maybe like playing down the Sanji and applying pressure, but I think an Onami here is the right play. We'll get rid of I think the Law was what we should get rid of, and we do. Unfortunately, we don't draw any counter. That feels bad. We can actually use another Onami, which I'm thinking about, or we can do a Zoro just to get another swing on the board. I'm thinking that either way, I'm not going to be able to use Gum Giant Gavel if I play out the Onami or Zoro, and that's why I play out the Nico Robin. It gives me the perks of another blocker, but it also leaves up 2 Dons so I can use my event card. I did miscalculate that a little bit, but it's perfectly fine. Leaving 2 Don up isn't ideal. We'd prefer to leave 1, but hey, it is what it is. We're in a pretty good position. The thing is, I'm just hoping that they don't have a rush card that can KO based on power level. And so like a Nico Robin from OP09 would be able to KO the Nico Robin blocker we have. They're going to start out just pressuring life. Makes sense. They're going to go 9,000 into my life. I'll block with Nico Robin. A chump blocker you usually want to use early in the turn because a lot of decks will find a way to get rid of it before it gets value. They've still got 9 down to work with. I wonder what we'll see here. Maybe they'll swing big into the Luffy, just trying to get it off the board, but I don't think they'll be able to remove it this turn, even if they want to. they're going to throw 2 Don on their leader and swing 7,000 at me. I like this play for them. It continues to apply pressure. I'm wondering what else they're going to play this turn. We are going to use our event, Gum Gum Giant, and return 2 Don. I like this here just because it's going to allow me to get some more card draw. We get the Sanji Rush and the Usohachi 2K. I like that for us. A 2K is always welcome, and then another Rush card is cool as well. This I was not expecting, but is an interesting play. The Portgas D Ace promo, 8,000 double attack at me. Yeah, I'm going to block out of that one. Now we've got a couple different options. I really just need to apply pressure on their life, but I just continue going at their board. Something about it just feels good. Trying to really establish a dominant position, I'd say. Off the Zoro search, we are going to take the Gum Gum Giant event. This event card is just so good. 4,000 power and allows you to cycle your hand to get more cards. I love that. I think we're going to start out with a 6,000 swing into the ace and see if they want to keep it alive or not. If not, they'll have to give me a card from hand. Then with 5 Don up, we can play out the Zoro Joro or the Nami blocker. They're debating on whether or not to counter out of this. They know it'll just go if I swing with the Monkey D. Luffy. You know what's coming next. I did this like 3 turns in a row. I'm going to swing into the Wapple, and finally it goes. RIP. That Wapple put in crazy work. A real nuisance. We are going to play the Zoro Joro and leave a Don up for Gum Gum Giant and pass it to them. They've got 10 Don to work with. I wonder what the top end for this deck looks like. They are going to start off with the 5,000 swing into my leader. That's an easy 1k counter for me. I'll give them the Sanji Rush because I don't think I'll need another one. I already got one in my hand. They are going to play out the Goldie Roger. That is crazy. They're going to swing 13,000 at my Luffy. If they were able to get the Luffy off the board, it would have really been a good, I think, momentum swing. But I do have the Gum Gum Giant. I will be able to cycle my hand. I get another one. I am feeling great. I decide that I just want to remove this Goldie Roger before I do anything else. I'm wondering if I should just swing really big with my Monkey D. Luffy into it and then swing small into their life. I think that might be the move here. Maybe swing big with my 9-cost Luffy and then play down the Onami blocker. I'm going to math them out a little bit and just make sure that I can absolutely clear this Roger. I decide to not even play out the Onami this turn and just swing into their life after this, just because I feel like with the Gum Gum Giant event that I'm pretty safe as it is. If they drop a couple smaller rush cards, that's fine. I'm not really in any danger. They're going to take these hits to life. I'm going to swing 7 now. Will they counter out of this? They won't. I think I've got this game pretty much locked up, and that is the case. They concede. GG's. Our last game of the day is against our good old friend Doflamingo from OP09. This is an interesting first hand, but it didn't have a lot of counter. I wasn't really feeling it. I am going to mulligan. I'm not sure if this hand is much better, but hey, it is what it is. That happens sometimes. This is a disclaimer. I think I played kind of wild in this game. Like, I think I make some questionable plays and decisions, but I think the ending is really interesting, and the way I kind of come back is worth watching because it's just kind of surprising if I say so myself. They're going to start out with a blind leader ability and get the 4-drop Gecko Moria. Not the best card to get off the blind leader ability, but hey, it's better than no card off leader ability. Am I right? I'm going to do a 5,000 swing into the Gecko. I'm debating on if I should do a Bon Clay, then a 6,000 swing into the Gecko. I think in hindsight, that is the play I like more. Before we swing, we are going to use leader ability. I think there, maybe finding a Zoro Joro would be best case scenario. We're going to swing 5,000 into their Gecko, and they are going to counter out of that. I don't agree with this play in hindsight. I think I'm going to play down the Sangoro. I just like the fact that it was a 5-cost body and it wouldn't be able to get bounced next turn. They would have to wait till their 6 down or 7 down play to do it. I think I should have went Bon Clay, ramped a Don, and then swung bigger into the Gecko Moria. They're going to hit me with the Charlotte Pudding already, down to 5 cards. I'll take the first hit. I will have the counter to get out of this Gecko swing, and yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll give him the 1k Bon Clay counter. I won't even be at enough Don to use Sangoro's draw 1 ability, which kind of ruins the point of playing him. I'm a little like, what did I do there, you know? This game might be kind of cooked for me, but it is what it is. We're learning how to play under unique circumstances. They'll pass it back to us. So we've got 7 Don to work with. We could use a leader ability and then use the Sangoro's effect. That would be kind of crazy if I say so myself, but hey, we're going to do it. We're going to swing 6 into the Gecko. The reason we swung 6 and didn't give any Don is because we wanted to see what all of our options were first. And then I think we might just have to block her up here. We might go 5,000 with leader, then maybe 2 cost Nico Robin blockers. We'll start out with the Zoro Joro though. That'll be a nice card to swing into whatever bodies they may play next turn. Off the Zoro Joro, I think Sanji is the best bet here. Not only is it a rush card, it has the 1k counter. I don't know if Luffy Taro is going to be super helpful at this point in the game when I've already gone down to 1 life. I do feel kind of silly for doing that. I'm kind of crazy, but they have a low hand size. They have only a Charlotte Pudding on the field. We've got a blocker up. I think we're doing fine. They hit us with another Charlotte Pudding. At least we get some 2Ks and a couple blockers. That'll be nice. They're going to swing 7,000 into my life. I will give them the blocker. They won't be able to swing with one of the Charlotte Puddings. That's good news at least. We'll start out with a 6,000 swing from Sangoro, drawing the Gum Gum Giant event. I like that play. Now we're going to go 6,000 with Zoro Joro. They are going to give me the 2k out of that. Now I'm thinking that maybe we go a Eustace Captain Kidd and a Law Blocker, leaving 1 Don up for Gum Gum Giant event. We'll do 5,000 into their life. I imagine they'll take this. I don't think they really need to defend their life too much right now. Playing out the Eustace Captain Kidd and the Law isn't ideal. I think I would have rather had a Charlotte Pudding, or maybe not. I don't know, but they are going to be able to Gravity Blade Raging Tiger them. That isn't the worst thing in the world though, because my Sangoro and my Zoro Joro will survive this turn. They're just going to push for game. I'm going to give them the Sangoro 1k. Then they're going to swing 2 more 5ks. I can get out of this. I'm debating on whether or not to use just 2ks here or use Gum Gum Giant. I decide to use Gum Gum Giant just because it'll allow me to get some more card draw. Maybe I'll get something helpful. I don't know if really what I drew was that helpful. The Sanji blocker is good. It's also a 2k. And then we do get the Zoro Joro, which could help us search. We're going to do 6,000 with Sangoro, drawing a Luffy Taro. We top deck the 9 cost Luffy, and I actually think we're in a decent position now. 6,000 into the Pudding. I imagine they'll give me this. I should be able to clear their entire board. I could set up a blocker if I want to. I could play down Zoro Joro as well, find more cards. I could also go Luffy Taro and Zoro Joro and just go wide and put them in a really awkward spot for next turn. They won't be able to clear my entire board. They won't be able to go for lethal unless they run some crazy Usopp Rush Spice. And if they do that, well, they deserve to win, to be honest. 6,000 at their Pudding. They're really debating. They would have to use multiple cards to get out of it. And then I would definitely remove it with a Monkey D. Luffy swing. So they're probably debating if it's even worth it. I had to hit them with the question mark because they were taking way too long with their decision. It is just a sim game. We need to get on with their lives. They just end up conceding. They would have been able to get out of that 6,000 swing into Pudding, but then they would not have been able to defend against my Luffy swing. I would have established a body or two, and I really do think I win that game. So I don't love including a game that was cut off so early, but I think I was in control of it, even though I had a little bit of a wild start. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the games I got for you today. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. You are an absolute real one, and shout out to you. What did you think about today's games? Were there any plays that you thought were really good? Were there any plays that you thought were really bad? I would love to hear your feedback in the comments below. Again, if you want to win the custom red hair Shanks, boom. All you gotta do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment, and you'll be entered in the giveaway. Let me know what other leaders you want to see. Let me know if there's any matchups you want to see. I've been Johnny TCG. Peace. Don't forget to subscribe.